Okay. This looks slightly complicated, but I wanted to give a tip to anybody that's using Alien Bees or Einsteins or DigiBees or PulseeBuff Studio Strobes. You do have the option of doing something similar to this. I think with ProPhoto, however, I don't use that stuff. I use DigiBees. Specifically, I use Einsteins. This is just a DigiBee for demonstration. Now, this looks a little bit complicated, but believe it or not, this is the fastest way to shoot, test, and calibrate your lighting to whatever it is you need, multiple lighting units in the studio or on location, because everything is about getting the job done. And if you're sitting there chimping off the back of your camera like an idiot, you're going to look like an idiot. A lot of times in corporate gigs, people have very little time to set up, and if you look like an idiot, guess what? They're never going to hire you again. Now, I have 4 different things here. Well, technically 5. This one doesn't count. It's a CyberSync transceiver. This is the receiving unit inside the DigiBee or the PulseeBuff Einstein or the PulseeBuff Studio Strobe. And I have a Pocket Wizard hooked to the sync port back here, and the only thing it's going to do is actually fire the Studio Strobe so I could test it with a light meter. This is receiving the signal from, this is center pin trip only. No communication exists between the camera, this little transmitter unit, and the CyberSync transceiver on the DigiBee or the PulseeBuff Einstein other than receive the signal to fire. So the only thing that gets sent here is fire, or the ability to actually adjust power output, because it's also getting command signals for power output from the Cyber Commander, which actually is able to adjust well over a dozen different studio strobes at the same time. However, I've never used more than 4. What I have velcroed on the back of my Sekonic light meter is the CyberSync transceiver with industrial velcro. Hang this around your neck, leave your camera on your tripod, or laying at your side, actually able to come up, test the lighting, adjust the power output to the DigiBee, go back to your camera, and faithfully take the shot instantly. If using a 2, 3, 4, 5, I would never use that many. Never. Even shooting a large group of people. 4 Einsteins or 2 white lightning units, so it's still a maximum of 4. The notion of controlling well over a dozen units is kind of ridiculous, but you do have the ability on the Cyber Commander. It's a little $180 unit right back here. It comes right off. Normally this actually sits in the hot shoe of your camera. A lot of people actually hang this from their neck, and what they do is they use one of these around their neck to adjust the power output on the multiple units, so you don't actually have to go to the back of the studio strobe and adjust anything. Once you have this placed in the position that you want, you never have to adjust it. So people have this hanging around their neck, and they'll actually have the CyberSync on the hot shoe of their camera feeding the fire signal to the DigiBees, and if they need to make corrections, they will make it. However, faster than that, so I don't have to go back and forth to my camera, because I'm going to have to chimp, if I don't have a light meter, to look at the histogram on the back, and even then it's only a histogram of the embedded JPEG file within the RAW. This has been calibrated to all of my cameras that I use, including my old 758 light meter. I take a test shot, check what it is. I know I want to shoot at f2.8, for example, so it's telling me f8. I got too much power, need to drop it. Okay, I'm going to turn main light unit. I want a ratio of like a 3:1 between my primary light and my hair light. Adjust the power down. Don't have to touch the studio strobe. I can go back to the camera, shoot instantly. If I look at the back of the camera just as a quick look and I need to adjust something, all I have to do is adjust it via the Cyber Commander right here. If I change the position of the model or the subject or the corporate shoot, all I have to do is actually test the shot, fire the strobe, because this is hooked to the Pocket Wizard module, which is connected to the DigiBee via the sync port, which is a 1/4-inch sync port at the bottom of either the DigiBee or on the back of the unit of the Einstein or the regular PulseeBuff Alien Bees units. So the DigiBee actually has 2 wireless transceiver inputs. The CyberSync Commander is getting signals from 2 different locations. The CyberSync back here, velcroed on the back of my Sekonic for power adjustment, and also the fire adjustment. The firing of the CyberSync on the hot shoe of any camera that I'm using. So it is receiving from 2 different units. The Cyber Commander for power and adjustment, and the fire from the hot shoe. The Pocket Wizard is hooked to the Pocket Wizard, not hooked to, excuse me. Wireless we're talking about here is connected wirelessly to the Pocket Wizard unit, which is located in the back of the light meter. Let me take this off right here. There's a little Pocket Wizard unit right back there. it is firing this so I can actually test what the exposure is and the lighting ratios that I want, and then I can, if it's what I want, that's fine. If it's not, I just adjust it on the back of my Cyber Commander. This is hanging around my neck or sticking in my pocket. That way I don't have to go either to the studio strobe, much less additional studio strobes, nor do I have to go to the camera. With the Cyber Commander, this is assuming this is going to be sitting on my tripod somewhere over there, or sitting on a table. It doesn't have to be on a tripod. I don't have to touch the studio strobe, and I don't have to look at the back of the camera. Of course you're going to look at the back of the camera in the first shot or two. It's like, well, I don't particularly like that. I want a different ratio. I want the composition to look different. It's not going to be perfect on the first shot. Sometimes it is, rarely it's not. But there is nothing faster than this. I can control the power, and I can control what my ratios are from my multiple either speed lights, because you're going to do the same thing with a speed light. However, the speed light doesn't have two inputs for radio like the DigiBees or the Alien Bees or the Pulse Buff Einsteins. But this is as fast as it gets. But this looks complicated or convoluted, and it's actually not. I'm testing my light right here via the Sekonic. I'm adjusting it back here. The strobe has two inputs, which was receiving from the CyberSync Commander to fire from the Hot Shoe CyberSync transmitter, and adjustment for power output, also for modeling illumination if I want, because you can adjust not only the power output but the modeling illumination via the Cyber Commander right here. Once I'm done with that, go back to the camera and start shooting. If I need to make some adjustments, I don't have to step up to the studio strobe unless I want to move them for where the light falls. Obviously, you're going to have to do that too. But this is as fast as it gets. All of these gadgets are as fast as it gets. This is as fast as it gets. There is nothing that you're going to say that's faster than this, especially if you're using more than one monoblock light. This is it. You don't want to go back and forth between adjusting the power. It's like, okay, I'm going to chimp on the back of my camera, and then I'm going to walk up to 2 or 3 or 4 of my strobes and adjust the power output, walk back to my camera, take a shot, chimp off of that, walk up to the strobe, because you're going to look like an idiot. This looks, I know, as soon as I say this, someone in this video is going to say, well, that's too complicated, that's too There's nothing faster. My camera's over there on the table. I position my lights on my light stands where I want them. I can adjust the power. I can do everything right here via the Sekonic and via the Cyber Commander. The only thing I have to do then is just pick up the damn camera and fire. So this is a video for studio shooters as far as an easy way to uncomplicate things. It's like sometimes you actually have to complicate things, because I've got Sekonic, a Cyber Commander, a CyberSync transmitter, a Pocket Wizard here, and a CSC CyberSync transceiver here. To actually simplify things, technically to speed them up, I actually need all of these devices to make it fast as possible. And while this looks complicated, it is both fast and simplex. I hope I explained that fully. And you know, when you show up to do an on-location corporate shoot, or you're gonna have 2 lights, preferably 3. You know, primary, hair light, depends on what you're doing, a background light. Why would I want to walk up to every one of those 3 of those strobes after chimping off the back of my camera and looking like a moron? I will stand there with my camera in my hand or sitting on a table. I will adjust each one back here, walk up to the scene again and meter as necessary, hopefully not more than once after my initial, and then I'm done. Then I can adjust for effect as I need via the camera or the power output of the studio strobe. You know, it's like I want to stop down the aperture, so I want to experiment with that composition. I want to experiment with a different ratio. Okay, well, I'll just adjust it right here. I'm not going to walk up to the strobe to do that. I am if I have to change the angle or the position of the octabox, the soft box, or the grid, and where the grid falls to define the specular, the diffuse, or the highlights on the subject. Obviously, I'm going to have to do that. There's no magic electronic device that's actually going to change and move the grid. You know, you're going to have to do that physically. So anyway, this is a simple little video. I hope it doesn't seem too convoluted, but this is as fast as it gets. And when you're fast and you're able to adjust things simply and easily, you don't look like a dumbass. You know, You know, if someone sees you going back and forth between your camera and the studio strobe, you're going to look like an idiot. And they're not going to recommend you, and they're not going to hire you again. I'm sorry it takes all these devices, but this is as fast as it gets, and it actually does require all of these. Like I said, though, a lot of people, to keep it really simple, what they'll do is they'll have the Cyber Commander hanging around their neck, and then they don't need the Pocket Wizard. They're not using a light meter, but they're still chimping off the back. You know, they're guessing. They're looking at histogram, which is an embedded JPEG, and they're guessing. The light meter's a lot, but this, you know, 80% of the reason why a light meter is indispensable in the studio, it makes things faster. There are a lot of stupid people that have commented that this complicates things. No, it doesn't. If you know how to use a light meter correctly, it simplifies things. Anybody that's bought one off my recommendation, I don't recommend it, you know, for most people or hobbyists. You know, I don't want to complicate things or make things miserable, but anybody that has and needs it is like, you're right, it makes things simpler and easier. I don't have to screw around or guess, you know, chimp off the back of my camera, you know, take a wild-ass guess. Is that what they call it? W-A-G. Anyway, thanks for watching. There's the simple, easy way to do the fastest studio photography with a significant number of devices, no less. Thanks for watching. Bye. Bum, 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 bum.